Hey, everybody, welcome to the CX Engine Show, where we are fueling growth through CX. And if you don't know, CX means customer experience. I'm Brooke Sellas, and I'm joined by my fabulous co-host, Kenneth Kinney. Some people call him Shark. And we are going to chat today about talent. How do you hire great CX talent? Kenneth, I know you're under the weather, so I hope you can manage to have this quick conversation about CX talent without having a coughing fit or losing your voice.
Some crafty editing will go on today. I'm going to re-engineer this and sound like Barry White when I get done with the show, but I was really hoping we could just sign everything. No, I've been battling sinus gunk, a little strep throat kind of stuff, if anything, and I cut myself shaving. So I'll try to power through it, but it's a very juicy topic. So one of the things that I think where we're getting to, especially with the market, is a lot of times we think about what we'd like to hire. It's very easy to think about the clay that you'd like to mold into that perfect CX person that fits the roles you need to make your customers love you and want more. And then you get Bob or Sheila, and they were the only one that applied for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, good Lord, what do I do now? So I think when I think through that, and that's in all kinds of roles, but especially with the importance of, delivering great customer experience, your customers are not waiting for you to hire the right person to have the expectation bar set so high.
They're not. No, I agree. I think, one of the things too that we're facing on top of just hiring great talent, that's difficult enough by itself. But during an economic downturn, like we're facing, finding the right customer experience professionals is crucial for businesses because they have to be maintaining high quality customer service when there's, a situation like we're in now, economically, because we're all kind of tightening the belts, right? And we're really looking at that high quality customer service. And if you make us mad now, well, that's not going to be good. So I think one of the things that we did, and we actually did this before the downturn, we did this a few years ago based on hiring customer experience professionals, was that we came up with a comprehensive recruitment strategy. And we came up with very specific questions and a scorecard to score people to make sure that they had the right skill set, they were passionate about helping the customer, and that they would help us ensure satisfaction with our clients. So I think, one, you have to focus on hiring top talent to do that. I think you have to have a really smart recruitment strategy. Two, you have to make sure that your teams possess the necessary skills, and that includes soft skills, to get the job done. And I'm saying that like it's really easy, and I know that it's not.
Yeah, well, at least it helps you identify if you know what skills you feel like you really need, and let's break those down, then at least you can address the ones that might be shortcomings for people. So helping break that laundry list down is really important. I think, when you look at the top skills, what are the top skills, at least to you, that you find the most important to hire or to look for in someone when hiring for a CX role?
Yeah. So part of the scorecard, we ask a lot of like scenarios. And here's one thing I will say too about our scorecard is we took the emotion out. It helped take the emotion out of hiring. Because, some people have a great interview, but if they don't meet the score, it's all kind of automated in a spreadsheet. It turns red. And we know we can't hire that person, right? So they didn't get enough points to be hired. And so that helps take the emotional side out of it. But I think, obviously understanding social channels for us and how they work. If they've worked in CX and social before, that's great. But a lot of people haven't, right? Because it's more of like a new Wild West frontier, I guess. But if they have a hospitality background, if they have any volunteer experience, if they've, served in a position where they were dealing with customers' happiness in the past, that's always a great place to start. And that, again, that doesn't mean that these people have been like, yes, I've helped with social media customer experience or digital customer experience. It just means that, let's say if they worked in hospitality at a hotel at the front desk, what do you think happens at the front desk? It's a lot of customer service and or customer experience. So that would lend skills to being able to, complete the job just on a different medium. Instead of in real life, it's on digital channels.
Yeah, and that's very fair, because that actually goes into another question I was going to ask as well, as about backgrounds. But for me, one of the obvious ones is having someone that understands empathy. Psychotics do not work well in CX roles. So, two, having someone with really strong problem-solving skills.
Yeah.
You've got to have a real love for puzzles to put yourself in the kind of position that frustrates every customer that comes in your door that you're on the phone with later.
You know what else? You have to have like Teflon skin.
Absolutely. Shark skin.
Yes, shark skin, because today's consumer is very different than, several years ago. When they by the time they come to social for us, a lot of times they've already tried other avenues and they are irate, and they take it out on the agent that they're speaking with. Even though it's directed to the brand, it could feel personal. And I've had, team members in the past who took some of these things personally. And that's unfortunately not the right fit, because what you have to understand is this is nothing. They don't even know who you are. This is nothing towards you. This is directed at the brand, but you have to have a certain kind of skill set to understand and to separate, right? Personal from online nonsense.
Yeah, it's very easy to feel beat up when you're listening to that and then start feeling bad or sad, but that's not going to help them. That's not what they're coming to you for, is for you to also feel bad or sad. It's eventually to help them fix that problem. And another one, though, I think a lot of people lean too much into digital skills, but whether it's the soft skill part of it or not, in a digital or non-digital way. Because again, a lot of this evolves out of social and becomes on the phone. It's having outstanding communication skills.
Yes.
You can't really, and I don't mean just the person that can speak with, but having outstanding communication skills remains still being a good listener and using your two ears as much as your one mouth.
Yeah, the technology can be taught, right? The channels can be taught.
Exactly.
The way that they carry themselves, the digital body language, if you will.
Exactly.
I'm not sure can be taught, but if they have those skills, those soft skills, IRL in real life, then I think you can easily translate those to a different medium, right? So I would hire on the soft skills, and the tech can be taught.
Yeah. Well, what kind of person and personality do you cover with that recruitment strategy, but should be in that role? I mean, is it somebody that is, we talked about empathy, but personality wise, what do you sort of look for?
It's funny. Our CX team runs the gamut from like extreme introverts to extreme extroverts, right? So it's not really a personality type. I think it's more of somebody who has those soft skills and is constantly wanting to learn, because look, you think things are changing quickly elsewhere or just in marketing in general. When you start working with brands who have, massive product lines and massive acquisition and or retention questions coming through social, things are changing all the time. They're launching new products. They're discontinuing that. There's a sale on this, right? So I think investing in the right people is good, but I also think you have to invest in training and development of those people, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to keep up with what's going on. And I know right now it's enticing to cut back on training and development, right? Because like I said, we're all tightening our belts, but you have to make sure that you're constantly developing these individuals to handle all of the changes that are taking place, to make sure that they have those necessary skills, that they're improving on those skills, and to emphasize, how important it is to keep learning, whether that's through coaching or workshops or certifications, whatever it is your company does. I think that's critical for your CX team, is to continue that continuing education, I guess. I mean, I don't know what else to call it, but you have to continue to sharpen those skills. It's not just to set it and forget it.
Well, when you think of the kind of person, the first person that's on a team, or whether it's, you yourself in that role, or you're trying to hire the first person for the team, what kind of, from a managerial standpoint, what do you think it is that the manager or director needs to really have to help implement better CX down the road for the rest of the company? I think one of the things for me that I always look for is, when giving anybody guidance on this, is having somebody with a little bit of understanding of insights and analytics, because it's also very important to be able to look at things to take the numbers, multiply them out, and look at it from a broader view than just the individual problem. Sticking another finger in another dike all the time works, but you're still going to let in a lot of water if you don't sit back and look at what's wrong with the boat.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that, because obviously the reports that we are putting together for our customer care clients are massive, especially because a lot of them are by product line, so we're talking sometimes 20 different reports for 20 different product lines. And yes, I that's a great point, because I totally agree. They have to be able to understand the impact of what we're doing, which is why, as we make tagging and labeling. Some platforms call it tagging, some call it labeling, but we make that a number one priority for onboarding and training and development, because that's really how we slice and dice all of the data. So we tag by product line, we tag by issue, we tag acquisition or retention for the conversation, we tag, if we have this information in our social CRM, returning client, new client, we tag by all kinds of different things. And that's super important to really slicing and dicing the data for those reports and being able to say, okay, this product has taken a dip in sentiment, and it's because most conversations are saying it's this issue. How can we fix that root cause? Not just like get a little blanket statement to keep telling these people, but how can you, brand, fix whatever this issue is so that we can say, hey, we listened, we fixed it, please remain loyal.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to we're molding with clay, because I think that's part of what ideally we'd like to get versus what we necessarily get in roles. And this comes up all the time. Large and small businesses, even large businesses that have staffs of 10,000 or more, don't have everybody applying internally to every other role. But what background do you think is important for someone to have to succeed in a CX, a customer experience role?
I think,
other than a good voice with honey and tea.
Well, remember, on social, they just have to have good typing skills, which essentially means grammar and spelling. But I think, the two biggest soft skills that I would look for, if I had to choose just two, it would be a positive personality. They can take a bad situation and find the silver lining, and a supportive personality, because it really does take a team of people to serve, a large brand who has, 20 different product lines. When you have new community managers that don't know the FAQs by heart or don't know how to find something, they need to be able to lean on the other team members or on the account manager to get the correct answer instead of just guessing, and to make them feel comfortable to reach out to team members or their account manager or the project manager if they need to go, up above. Then they have to feel like they're going to be supported. So I think that goes back to the brand too. They have to foster a positive and supportive work environment to have people be positive and feel supported. Yes, you can look for those skills, but if you put those people into a situation where they're not feeling supported and things aren't positive, you're going to burn them out, or they're going to leave and go find somewhere that is, right? I mean, you need to provide regular feedback, opportunities for professional growth. All of the things that I kind of said before. It's not a set it and forget it. It's a constant atmosphere of fueling fueling growth through CX, fueling growth through, those trainings, the development, the, questions that are allowed to come in. I mean, I have an open door policy. They could literally come to me if they needed to. But luckily, the way we have it set up, that hasn't had to happen yet. Notice I say yet. I'm sure there'll be a day and a time.
It's a little bit different too, that now you're working from home.
Yeah.
If they come over to your house and ask you a question that's a little too much open door policy.
Well, I mean, they can ping me at any time.
I know.
Or email. I'm happy to help. I don't know a lot because I'm not in the day-to-day to help in that way. But let's say it's like some sort of crazy, weird situation and they want, help brainstorming. Great. Yeah, exactly. I'm there. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that if I were molding with clay, again, that I'd like to think where I'd pull the different background from is obviously if they've got a strong background in customer service, serving customers it's great. A background in marketing, understanding in some role in their career, understanding what it was like to put out information to customers, to understand what the problems you're responding to. 3, sales.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah.
Sales is hard for people, but it's hard for salespeople to think this way because they're often so driven. But at the end of the day, again, if we're fueling this for growth, part of that has to help. There has to be a fundamental fiscal understanding that the internal person has and a desire, and it helps all the parties internally understand where the focus is. That doesn't mean selling and upselling more products and irritating the customer when they're trying to fix a problem, but there's a art to the science, if you will.
Yeah.
The other 2 things that I think of, other than if they're in, if they're working for your agency as a third party for a client, to me, it's not a have to, but it's always helpful to have some brand experience. And if you're on the brand side, it helps to have some external agency experience. Why? Again, all of these, if I'm crafting these, would fit almost every role. I'd love somebody to work in billing for a week or accounting for a week or whatever it is.
Cross-training. Yeah.
Cross-training. The more that you can align the mentality for where you're doing this focus to help fuel your growth. I think we need to ring a bell every time we talk about fueling growth. Every time, the more alignment there is, the better cohesion, the better chances of success that you're going to have helping someone fix a problem, understanding the scope and the depth of that problem for them, which is where we often focus, but also really understanding your own Charlotte's Web, the matrix, whatever metaphor you want to use, that's in combining those to make a happy customer.
Yeah. I love that you said sales because, I just put something out on LinkedIn that said
usually I get cursed for it.
There's a recent report that came out from McKinsey that said the companies who look at shopper behavior and then adapt that intelligence to their customer experience have 85% more revenue and growth than companies who don't. 85%. That's huge. And what you and I have talked about on the show and outside of the show a lot too, is when a lot of companies are focusing on their CX initiatives, it's really only about retention. They're not even thinking about acquisition, which is nuts to me. So I'm so glad that you said sales, because yes, you can absolutely acquire new customers through CX, including digital or social CX, but only if you have a plan to do so. And
Agreed.
you should have a plan to do so. It shouldn't just be about retention. That's only half of the pie. So, not only can you keep customers happy and keep the bottom line happy as well, you can acquire new customers through your CX if you make a plan and you have the insights and you have the right people helping you do these things.
Agreed. Well, Brooke, it's a special time. It's time for the champions and Karens of the episode. So I'm going to start out this week with a champion of the episode. And this is one that I never even thought about, except that back when I had a voice 100 years ago, I started out in AM radio. I did sports talk. And then I've had several shows over the years on FM and AM radio. And Ford Motor Company and the industry is going through a lot with all the technology they load up with their radios or their cars in general, with EVs. And I was going to poo-poo them as the Karen of the episode. However, they changed their mind with them, just recently announced that they are not going to remove AM radio from their cars. Now, I haven't listened to AM radio in God knows how long in my big truck, which is not using CX to fuel its growth. However, knowing Ford's target audience, how they grew their start, also knowing how important it is to emergency services with AM radio and how much not everybody can afford, not even an EV conversation, not everybody can afford Sirius XM radio.
Yeah.
Not everybody listens to FM anymore, but AM for people, for what should be, I cannot imagine that adding the component of AM in a system cannot cost them anything. They've been putting this technology in cars and trucks for the last 50, 75 years?
A million. Yeah.
Eliminating that now means what? $1 a car?
Right. It can't affect the bottom line that much.
Exactly.
Honestly.
So they changed their minds and they kept it. Again, I think it's partially because they went back and they listened to all the people that were clamoring for and listened to their audience. And that's really mine.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic example. And again, just like you said, looking at who their customers have been and continue to be, it seems like they would not have made that decision in the first place, but I'm glad they walked it back.
Well, I miss the old days when radio didn't cost you, $26.95 a month, Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I get a free subscription to Sirius XM whenever I renew my lease. And it's like for a year. And then when it's out, it's gone. I don't pay for it. I'm not paying for it. I just hook up Apple Music or, we all have iPhones.
Podcasts.
Our podcast. So anyways, I love that example. And I just want to say, surprisingly, I feel like I got to whisper this because then we'll hear something terrible in the news, but I don't have a Karen this week. So hooray for CX. But now that I've said it out loud, I'm sure we'll get an email today that somebody did something terrible when it comes to their customers.
Well, I have several, but I'm going to keep them quiet as I was thinking about it. But I will say that all of the ones that I have go back to what I just said about AM. The brands that are getting loud noises about them right now it's because they're not listening to their core audience. And, even you convinced me that what Nike did was a good thing for them because it was on their core. I didn't agree with anything they said politically, but that was their core audience.
That was
The
the core
ones that
audience.
are messing up today are the ones that are not listening to that audience. And those are the ones that are fueling their growth, and they can pull back. And that's the importance of, it's not a cancel culture question as much as just listen to the ones that are buying from you and feed that.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, because with Nike, we saw like, right, regardless of your stance politically, from a business perspective, from a bottom line perspective, their revenue skyrocketed after that decision. So,
And he still wasn't a very good quarterback, but that's another story. So by the next show, I'll have a full voice. And I want to thank you to everybody for who's watching. I want to thank everybody who's watched or listened today. If you want details on how to connect with us, I want to thank you, Brooke. If you want details on how to connect with us, if you want to nominate someone to be on the show, connect with us on LinkedIn. Could be you or anybody else you know that's working at CX. Oh boy, this is getting tough on my lungs.
I know.
Brooke and Shark are looking forward to chatting about CX and how it's fueling growth with you on the next episode of the CX Engine Show. Have a great day, everybody.
You did it.